You've just jumped inside the pull bag. Join TFG1Mike and the rest of the comic reading crew here at the GCRN as they make their great escape into comics. From DC, Marvel, IDW, Boom Studios, Zenoscope, and more, we have everything you want to read right here. Transformers comics? Yeah, we cover that. He-Man? Yeah, sure. DC superheroes like Batman, Batgirl, Nightwing, and Batman Beyond? Yep, we have those too. How about TMNT from IDW and I Hate Fairyland from Image Comics? Yeah, we have all that here. Plus, so much more. It's all inside the pull bag here on the Geekcast Radio Network. So without any further ado, it's time to talk about the comics we are reading right now here inside the pull bag.
And the masters of the universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull!"
Hello and welcome to the Pull Bag. This is episode 308. I am, of course, TFG1Mike. Joining me for the first time in slightly over a year is Mr. A. Baron. How the hell are you?
Warm, sweaty. I mean, I want to have the AC on in this room right now, but it's gonna be too loud.
Sorry about that.
I'm doing this for you people.
That's right. He's doing this for you. Meanwhile, in the Chicago suburbs, we've had our first day in a long time at this point that is not 95 degrees and sweltering. It was a cool 65 to 67 degrees with lots of wind. One of the best days we've had so far. Of course, that's not going to obviously last. We're going to go back up to over 100 with heat index and be dying just like you. Yes. But we are here. It's been, like I said, over a year. Slightly over a year that we had done the He-Man Eternity War finale with issue 14 and 15. And since that time, they had released He-Man Thundercats, the first He-Man Thundercats crossover. And upcoming, they're going to be doing Injustice versus Motu, kind of like how they did DC Universe versus Motu, which we had already covered. So they're doing a whole bunch of things, but He-Man Thundercats, dare I say, this is something we have been wanting since 1985.
Yeah, this seems to feels like it's coming natural. Unlike, with the DC ones, it just sometimes the characters don't meld with the other ones well.
Right.
By the power of Grayskull, I command the drawbridge. Open!
In those capsules, they're Thundercats. Thundercats! Ho! The Thundercats, they're loose.
Thundercats are on the move. Thundercats are loose.
Absolutely. But He-Man Thundercats, it's a 6-issue miniseries that was published by DC Comics. I am viewing it in the trade. I love the opening page here with just the He-Man Thundercats logo with the blue on it. Love that. He-Man and Lion-O on the creative page. To get the creative out of the way, Rob David and Lloyd Goldfine are our writers on this. Freddie E. Williams II is the artist on this. The last time we would have seen Freddie, he was doing Batman TMNT for DC and IDW. Jeremy Caldwell is the colorist. Deron Bennett is on letters. Obviously, series and collection covers done by Freddie E. Williams II. And all of that other stuff. We open up to a full-on splash page of the first issue, basically He-Man and the Thundercats versus Mumm-ra, Skeletor, the mutants, and the evil warriors. Very, very, very cool. Love that image. And we open with the first chapter, Swords and Omens. Now let me ask you this. What do you think... Now, I did not read this in single issue. I just read this right before the recording in trade. What do you think of the black and white story covers that we have for these 6 issues?
Well, with the art in general, it has this sketchy, almost bestial feel to it, and which I feel lends itself more towards the Thundercats than it does with any of the Master stuff.
Right.
So I'm digging on it. It compared to the cover, the art seems a little tighter.
Right.
So yeah, I'm game.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, I love it. I thought it was really, really interesting and how they did that, just keeping it black and white. So we open this with Mumm-ra versus Lion-O, as always, with opening narration and Cat Slayer in the background. We get the Black Pyramid, and we get this opening narration that's basically telling us, it's saying, what's it saying here? It says, you might not know it to look at him here, facing ignominious defeat at the hand, or should I say the blade, of his most hated enemy. But this shambling, bandaged, encased wretch is one of the most powerful beings in all creation. How do you feel how they captured Cat Slayer in that first panel, and then the Black Pyramid in the top panel of the next page?
Well, I'm always down for the Black Pyramid. It looks like it was pulled straight from the cartoon.
It does.
So we find out that this is set on Third Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with a lot of these Thundercats comics, I don't know in what continuity or what timeline we're going, because towards the end of the cartoon series, they made their way to New Thundera.
Right.
So I'm always expecting that to come up.
Right.
But it never does.
Not in this. See, this I see as an alternate version for Thundercats only, not necessarily Masters, but for Thundercats, it's a somewhat alternate version of after they've been on Third Earth for a while, like right before season 2 hits, right before like the Thundercats HOOOO movie hits, like right after they get to Third Earth, but maybe like a year or two after that. Mm-hmm. So it's, if you look at it in the context of the old cartoon series, it's, let's say, a year after they first land. So, Cat Slayer is built. Mumm-ra is doing all this stuff.
That would make sense, because later down the line they mention how Lion-O's not truly the king yet, so he has yet to go through the anointment trials.
Right, exactly. And they even specifically say later at the end of the thing that he is actually, only 12 years old or something or other. Even though in the cartoon series, and again, this is not the cartoon series, but even on the cartoon series, that Jaga did say some aging would happen. I don't know. That doesn't really bother me. So we get Mumm-ra, the ever-living. We get him talking to his ancient spirits of evil. And we get a really cool transformation scene kind of on the last panel here before we head to Eternia. I love Freddie Williams' art. His art, to me, I had first read him in Batman TMNT, the first crossover that they had done. I have not read Batman TMNT 2 yet. I'm not sure if he's on the second one. I assume he would be. But on the TMNT Batman one, I thought his art was a little strange, but I got used to it after a while. This, to me, immediately, because everyone has put so much of their own stamp on the Masters, with everything that you and I have talked about, and God knows how long we've been doing this, 2 or 3 years at this point. Everything that they've been doing, every artist has brought a different stamp, has brought their own stamp to it, but still is Masters of the Universe. With Thundercats, I don't think I've seen any Thundercats comics in the modern era.
I don't know, how modern are we talking?
The last 15 years?
They did a bunch around like 2002,
Okay.
2001, and yeah, I have all those.
Okay, I have never seen those. So for me, going from what I knew in my childhood to this specific trade, I'm like, oh, it's like, you know, the classic Thundercats. It's not like that heavily divisive new series that's coming next year. Thundercats, roar! Okay, apparently we're going to have a discussion about this off air, folks. Because he just growled like mumm-ra. Oh, wow. Not a fan, I take it, huh?
No.
Not willing
No,
to
sir,
give it
I
a
am not.
shot, huh?
When the 2011 series came on, I had a viewing party for the premiere at my house,
Uh-huh.
and that was an event. I was in tears over certain parts of that,
Right.
and then we get this.
Yeah, that'll be in the outtakes, folks, that we'll talk about Thundercats Roar from Cartoon Network. So we head to Eternia. We head to the Palace of... not the Palace of Power, the Eternos, the King Randor's palace and all that. And Prince Adam, as always, is late. And, damn, they nailed him. I mean, this whole scene of him running and being late and everything else, I love this. The palace looks great. All of the characters look great.
Yeah, in a lot of the other comics that we've read for Masters, they've tried to kind of modernize them or go with the style guide for the classics figures. Here we get the classic renditions of a lot of characters. We'll see, is it this page? Yeah. They actually depict Ram Man as really short as he was in the toy, rather than this hulking beast that he's been portrayed as for the past, since past 2000.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and Ram Man, even in the show, was always a little shorter than everybody. So, very, very, very cool. So, everybody outside basically says, the skies, the gods. What is happening? And Eternia and Earth, and I should say Third Earth, are basically pulling a Ultimate Doom from Transformers, where Cybertron came to Earth. Well, Eternia, or Earth, Third Earth has come to Eternia. We get to see basically all of the Thundercats in one giant panel here. It starts with Lion-O, Chitara, Tigra, Panthro, Wily Kitten Cat, and of course, everyone's favorite, Snarf.
Yeah, snarf, snarf, snarf.
And we even get Jaga. And
Okay, so I'm more of a Thundercats fan than I am a Masters fan.
right.
So this is where I get really picky.
Okay.
Jaga is only supposed to appear to Lion-O and no other Thundercat.
Okay.
And here he clearly appears to all of them, and Chitara even refers to him, the fact that he's there.
Okay. I understand your point, and you're right. But they do call back to it later. Of how, Lion-O even says, "Oh, you were you were talking to Jago, weren't you?" So they do kind of, basically upend it. You're right. It is a little crazy that he's talking to everybody. He is only supposed to appear to Lion-O. But if I remember correctly, in the series, in the first few I'd say the first 15 episodes, the others were also able to see him. Maybe not necessarily talk to him, but they were able to at least see him. I could have sworn at least once. I could be wrong. But you're right. I mean, it is a little strange that Chitara is having to save Snarf. Excuse me. That kind of a thing. So, Lion-O does the, sight beyond sight with the Sword of Omens, and I love that. I love that panel, the Give Me Sight Beyond Sight. That looks so cool.
Yeah, just like the cartoon.
Yep, absolutely. We go back to Eternia, where Orko is trying to help, and Orko's help is not exactly welcome, apparently, because Orko, no, not really. Yeah, I saw Ram Man earlier, but seeing him here in this battle scene where the text says, and whatever these circus freaks are supposed to be, he's pretty small, which is good. Like you said, it's basically going off the toy, going off the old cartoon. I'll tell you right now, the one line, like, by Thundera, I don't care. I don't care. That's, whatever. Grayskull's Bane, I'm gonna get tired of that so fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little strange. So we have this giant explosion here. We have the king kind of falling and almost to his death, and basically Adam jumps in and saves his dad. And then Cringer brings him the sword. And he basically transforms in front of his father. Well, he almost does. I wish he would have. But I love that panel. The way Adam's holding the sword, and obviously by the power of blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sorceress comes in, and basically... Uh-oh. I can sense that you're not a fan of this.
Well, I mean, sometimes, like, gore and whatnot in some of these franchises I'm not all down for. Like, in anything else, I'm fine with it.
Right.
But given the fact that the sorceress can't retain her human form outside of Grayskull, don't you think he would have thought something was up?
Yeah. Yeah, you would think. And, yeah, that is a little wonky. Very, actually. So, you'd think. And she basically kills Prince Adam with his own sword. Right in the chest. Prince Adam, the next shrimp on the barbie. Foster's, it's Australian for beer. So we have Lion-O and Panthro trying to fight these things and all of that, and the sword basically shows him something, or shows him the way to get stuff done, and they get their vehicle, and it's a big mismatch, and it's a sorceress who's coming out of her disguise because it's actually mumm-ra. And Cringer tries to help Adam, and that's, "Begone, you filthy beast! How I detest cats!" And it's mumm-ra, the ever-living. Now, I'm not a big gore fan myself, mostly I don't do horror movies. I barely do horror comics at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But that image is pretty powerful, with mumm-ra holding the sword in his chest. I mean,
he's ready to, and does, just swing him around with that thing.
Pretty much, yeah. Basically hoists him up, and yeah. Just crazy. And of course, everything changes, and he says, "By the power of Grayskull." What's that, boy? Speak up. "I have the power." I love the way Freddy did this panel of He-Man breaking free and mumm-ra in the top left. That is so gorgeous. It is so friggin' cool. Absolutely love that. And, whoever you are, you talk too much. I love that. We're not even through the first issue yet, folks. There's just so much in this first issue. I can't believe they packed all of this in. What are you thinking at this point, right before we get to Snake Mountain?
Well, other than getting on the feline, or how the Thundercats gonna know what to do here.
Yeah.
I mean, mumm-ra is just massive,
He is.
and just as he should be.
Yep. He's also feeble, as he should be.
Mm-hmm.
So the ancient spirits basically punish him, and they've made a deal with another. It's Skeletor.
And at this point, we finally learn who's been narrating this entire issue.
Mm-hmm. That's what I love about this series. The narration isn't just from somewhat like... I couldn't see Tila narrating this. I couldn't see, like, you know how some stories will have one narrator and it be a different character than who's actually narrating, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. I love that they did this way throughout this whole trade. I love that. Overall, after this first issue, what are you thinking? Like, what are your expectations?
Where exactly this is going to go? I mean, I always like seeing the ancient spirits of evil showcased a little more, because I feel like they never do enough.
Right. Right, yeah. The first issue was amazing. Like, normally it takes me, like, let's say most trades are 5-6 issues. Most of them are like 120 something pages. It usually takes me, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours to get through one because I can't sit here all at once. I read this within 45 minutes. And I've said this before. I said this last week. I'll say this every week on this podcast. I read the story first. While I do appreciate the art as the story is going through, I mainly save my art appreciation to actually talk about it in the show as we're recording it, because I want to get the story first and look at the pretty art later. So,
it's fair enough.
Chapter 2, or issue 2, When Thunder Strikes. I love the cover. I just love it. It's basically everybody.
I'm definitely more a fan of the issue title, the black and white.
Yeah, When Thunder Strikes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the Skeletor thing, yeah. Very, very, very cool. With the red eyes. Beautiful picture of Snake Mountain. Basically, Skeletor has disintegrated mumm-ra into some sort of drinkable ale, and he's going to basically drink the essence of Oh, I can't even finish that sentence. Skeletor, why'd you do that?
He likes to grind up the bones of his enemies.
I love it. I love what Skeletor says. Mumm-ra's dirty remains are still surprisingly quite potent. And Mumm-ra's like, that's rich, you calling my remains dirty. And, Skeletor finally, realizes, so long as evil exists, Mumm-ra lives. And they have this kind of back and forth fight kind of a thing, and they eventually will start working together, but yeah, Skeletor basically has the power sword, has everything he wants, basically says He-Man has never been more vulnerable. We go back to He-Man and Randor's like, but Adam, where is Adam? Is my son safe? And Cringer, oh yeah, he's safe. Couldn't be safer. I love Cringer. I was wondering, I know the whole point of this whole thing is the fight over the power sword, but I was really wondering when he was going to turn into Battlecat. I'm glad, we'll talk about this later when it actually happens, I'm glad they did what they did. Because for me, it's more emotional. And again, I'll let you do your thoughts on it when we get to it. But now that you've said what you've said so far about Thundercats, I'm not sure if I don't know if you would have enjoyed this.
Mm-hmm.
How they got Cringer to be the way he's not necessarily supposed to be, but, his other version of himself. So Evelyn pops in. The evil warriors pop in with the mutants. And it's an all-out brawl.
I do really like the artwork on the mutants here.
Yes, it looks so good. He-Man's like, Evelyn? Ugh. Among others. Like, they got Slive down so perfect. Absolutely love that. Jackalman, Monkeyan. Hell, Monkeyan working with Beastman is just genius.
I'm surprised Beastman isn't able to control him fully.
I know, right? That's what I was thinking. I'm like, why aren't you just, controlling him with your own will? Like, come on, Beastman, do your job. But we have this whole fight with the mutants and the evil warriors. I love all of this. Freddie Williams' art is great. Rob David and Lloyd Goldfine. The writing is amazing. The way this story is unfolded. What are you feeling at this point so far within this battle scene here?
Well, I love how they do show off that Vulture-Man is kind of the tech genius.
Mm-hmm.
And he brings out these equilibrium defibrillators.
Mm-hmm.
And the artwork for them kind of borders between a master's toy and something he would come up with. So it gels really well between the two factions that are against He-Man.
Yeah. I love when he first kind of debuts here with Vulture Man. Tri-Jaw, Trap Clops.
Yeah.
Is that Bird Brain talking to us? What is it, Vulture Pants? And I love that, at least in this panel, Trapjaw's jaw is purple and not like this fuchsia pink thing. So they're, like you said, the equilibrium defibrillators, all of that. He-Man crushes a mace with his bare hands. They fire the things, and He-Man just, he's He-Man. He's going to be able to absorb it all. He's going to, be able to do everything. Evelyn starts in on it. All of that. I love the shot of all the warriors and the mutants together. That was so cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, like her spell seemed to have worked in the first place, so I don't see why they wasted all that time and energy for these defibrillators.
They probably needed something for the mutants to do. Like if you're giving equal footing to both franchises, they probably needed something for the mutants to do on their end to contribute something.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. So we get a scene. No one buries the power of Grayskull. We get everybody kind of just, being beaten. And then we go back to Snake Mountain where Skeletor is going to have a drink. I love the panel where he's holding the glass up and you see Mumm-Ra's dead ashes in the background. Like, no! Alas, you, Mumm-Ra, shall be living nevermore. It's hilarious. So funny. Hey, at least it didn't, melt his jaw.
Yeah.
Like,
We've had enough jawless Skeletor.
I know. That was just so bad. So Skeletor now has the power, because he has the sword, he has Mumm-Ra, and he now has a giant red He-Man symbol on his chest. And we basically get, He-Man becoming Prince Adam and gonna be dying again, and King Randor's like, Adam?
How could I have not seen this, even though the two of you look exactly the same?
I know, right?
And this isn't one of those instances where, Adam is built like an actual teenager. This is like the toy.
It's Filmation Prince Adam. Exactly. This is why I love this series. This is taking both franchises in the classic way that we all know them, whether it's the old toys or whether it's the old cartoon series. It is exactly how 80s children, we remember them. And they give us a very unique story to go along with it. So we get Lion-O, we get Thundercats, Ho, and we figure out that Lion-O was the one narrating this issue.
Yeah, at first I was thinking it was Adam the entire time.
Yeah. I love that they don't reveal who the narrator is until the very, very end. I think that is such a cool storytelling point because you don't know. Again, you don't know. It keeps the mystery of the writing alive. Mm-hmm. I love this final panel of this issue, this last page with him holding the sword up, with the Thundercats coming in, with Skeletor and the power sword, and I love that.
Now that I'm looking at it, I believe the feliner's in the background. I think it's the feliner. Who was piloting it?
Yeah, no, that's not the feliner. That's the Thunder Tank.
No, behind it, the plane.
Behind it, the plane.
Next to Chitara.
Yeah, you're right. Who is piloting that? That's strange. Maybe autopilot? I mean, the main Thundercats, the Royal ship had autopilot because Jaga never wanted to use the damn thing.
Yeah.
So maybe it is on autopilot? I can hear the classic, like when Panthro first built the Thunder Tank in the cartoon series, I can hear the Thunder Tank music in my head right now looking at this final page of the second issue.
And just keep your hands off that blasted Samoflange.
I know! What the fuck is a Samoflange? Alright, what are you thinking after the second issue? Where are your thoughts lying? Are you liking stuff? Are you disliking stuff? Are you still wanting to read this if you're just reading it?
I mean, now that we're getting more into the meat of things with the Thundercats, it's grabbing my attention more. I think as a whole, with the Masters, it's a little on the dull side because we've gone through so many miniseries and ongoings.
Yeah.
Where the whole plot with Skeletor is kind of the same.
Yeah.
So it just feels like it's more of what we've seen in the past already.
Yeah.
But then once mumm-ra and the spirits kick in.
Oh, yeah. Like, I had to make sure, because I was doing screen cap stuff for this, for an album on Facebook that I'll put in the post, but when I was doing screen caps for this, I had to make sure I was labeling them the right issue, because I just read this like there were no issue breaks, like there were no chapter breaks, like there were no titles for each one, because it just flowed so well together when I read it. Mm-hmm. So, chapter 3, issue 3, whatever you want to call it. Cover is Skeletor, super purple chest, with Lion-O and Panthro, Tiger, all the Thundercats coming in. What do you think of this cover?
Kick his ass.
Kick ass. Kick his ass, that's right. This chapter is called Swords and Sorrows. I don't like He-Man's face on this chapter thing. The rest of the thing is fine. I don't like the way his face looks.
The artwork as a whole is a little more basic and cartoony compared to the other two.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. It just looks like, I'm not saying if it was colorized it would be better.
Is it the lack of pupils and a bridge of a nose?
Well, that, and just the way he's frowning, like, I mean, I get it, He-Man frowns, but I don't know, like, and the fact that Cat's in the armor, like, we're not even seeing that yet, so I'm not even sure, like, that's what I'd like to ask Freddie Williams, is, what were the inspirations, what were the guidelines, what were the directives for these title covers, because Battle Cat isn't in this at all. Well, he is, but not until very much later. So we get, villains, heroes, battle eternal. Again, another full-on page. Absolutely love it. The Thundercats are everywhere. Skeletor is basically, ass-ending them. Mm-hmm. Just absolutely amazing. And all of them have their weapons. Chitara's got the staff. Lionel's obviously got the sword and the claw. Panthro's got his nunchuck things. Tigra's got his whip. This is going to come up later, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be with me on this. I don't like the quote-unquote new power they gave Tigra.
I mean...
It's not a new... The whip can't fit around the whole castle. Like, I don't know. We'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah.
So we have Lion-O versus Skeletor, the clash of the Power Sword and the Sword of Omens. I love that panel. I love that Skeletor basically beats him up. Because they're still going with the whole Lion-O's kind of inexperienced thing. He's still, as I think Skeletor calls him in this, or mumm-ra calls him this later, the little kingling or whatever it is. Like, he's not the true king yet. And then you have, so after he kind of gets defeated, you have the whole team coming after them. I love the designs on the team. Panthro looks so good. So does Wily Kit and Wily Cat, Chitara, Tigra.
Well, this is somewhat early in the game if we're putting in the timeline of the cartoon series. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised they would have Wily Kit and Cat tag along at this point.
Yeah. Like I said, the way I see it is it's 1 year after they landed. I don't know. A lot can happen within a season of an animated series. So Chitara tries to basically
give him chickenpox.
Yeah, wound Skeletor. You got Panthro basically fighting him, and I can so hear Earl Hyman doing this. He basically says, "Bonehead, I've got 2 things to say to you. 1, 2. Well, look at that. I guess I had 3 things to say." I love that.
Like in the cartoon series, Panthro's banter with the villains was always kind of cheesy, and I'm glad that it's carried into this.
Yeah. Because again, like I said, I can hear Earl Hyman's voice. I can hear Mr. Huxtable. Because, obviously he's Cliff's grandfather in the Cosby Show. Or not Cliff's father in the Cosby Show. But I absolutely love that. I love how Snarf tries to get in. Should we put him out? So we have basically Skeletor on fire. But he's fighting back. And we have all of these multiple moves of him basically destroying all of the Thunder. He basically runs through everybody. Smacks Chitara around, punches Tigra, punches Panthro. Almost looks like he throws the sword at Panthro, even though the sword is on his back. But just the way that the image is looking, the way the stance is for the character. Basically looks like he's going to, kill Panthro, and Lion-O comes in with the Sword of Omens. And wow. So good. Feel my magic, Dark Mage. Oh my god. I can so hear Larry Kenny saying that. I need to interview him again.
Yeah, I ran into him once at a convention, maybe about 2 years ago. Yeah, he signed my DVD set.
Oh, sweet. That's so cool. That's one thing with Skeletor having the Power Sword that I absolutely love. The fact that Lion-O has the Sword of Omens, obviously, you get to see the Power Sword and the Sword of Omens do battle together without it having to be, He-Man and Lion-O.
Yeah, that trope is a little played out.
Well, it still happens later, but So this issue is very much a battle issue. What are you thinking to this point? This is kind of like the middle ground issue because it's the half point of the 6-issue series.
Well, he gets cut in the face pretty good.
Yeah, he does.
And like, given the history with both of the swords, I'm surprised that they both don't repel one another.
Yeah, you'd think they would. They're pretty... Yeah, they even say later that everything is pretty evenly matched. And then mumm-ra starts showing up again. Sort of. Lionel's like, you've teamed with mumm-ra to obtain the power ever living? Question mark. Then perhaps he should have told you. Never look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Hey,
Mistake number 1.
they're faithful to that, even though it's the wrong mirror. I know he used the sword a bunch of times, but the first time he ever faced him, he used the claw. Because he held the claw shield up to his face.
Right.
My phone just farted, folks.
Stop feeding it beans.
I know, right? Now, as a Thundercat purist, what are you thinking of this, the mirror bit?
I mean, that's always been mumm-ra's downfall. So to include it, or to not include it, would be a disservice to him.
Yeah. Oh, well, you want to know who's piloting the feliner, do you?
Yeah.
It's Snarf.
Well, Snarf was in the middle of the battle too.
I know, but after the page with mumm-ra, you fool, look away, flee! We see the feliner coming in and shooting stuff up, and it's Snarf in the pilot seat.
I'm surprised they trust him with that.
I'm surprised Orko's not standing right next to him, or floating right next to him, I should say.
Oh, God help us if they ever did a spin-off with the two of them.
Orko and Snarf. That would be so funny. Thundercat sidekick characters roar.
Just keep us away from Snarfer.
Uncle Snarf. Uncle Snarf. Oh my god. That's hilarious.
And any mention of, the Robo Roberto's Mexican chili, because apparently the burgles are ethnic now.
Yeah. Oh boy. So Skeletor is kind of unmummified, and mumm-ra's kind of attacking him. He basically Three Stooges him, except it's not on the forehead, obviously. It's right in the eyes. We have this whole transformation. Now, what do you think of this? This was freaky to me.
The transforming, or like the beating of one another?
Well, no, that's just funny slapstick. But the whole transformation thing of them basically becoming one being. What I love about this is them trading insults.
Yeah.
You decomposing dolt, I'll destroy you, says Skeletor. With what army, jackass? I don't necessarily like mumm-ra cursing, but...
No, neither do I.
Imbecile. Skeletor. Dumbra than the ever-drooling. Oh, God. This is pointless, too. We're too evenly matched. And they basically go to strike a deal.
As all villains do.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of that whole thing between the two of them?
Well, later in the series, mumm-ra does become very incompetent and becomes a bit of a bumbler, so to see that kind of is in character.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. So yeah, we go back to Eternos. We get basically the Thundercats coming in. And...
We're just going to crash this funeral.
Yeah.
I hope this is an open bar.
Oh, boy. But yeah, giant He-Man coffin thing with Prince Adam in it. Oh, boy.
It's like the end of Revenge of the Sith all over again.
No! Not really. Kind of, sort of, but not really. I think my favorite panel out of this whole scene, other than the giant funeral, like the giant coffin scene that I just talked about, is the one after where Lion-O comes up to King Randor, and Cringer is at the bottom of the coffin. Like, of course, Cringer would never leave Adam's side, but it's, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we have the whole thing. You know, Lion-O's like, I understand he was a great hero. Oh, I never knew. Kind of a thing from the king. You know, we have this whole thing of, I'm truly not king yet, not like you, sire. I like this part of the story. I think it's interesting that Lion-O, of who Lion-O is, and all of that, getting advice from King Randor. Basically, Lion-O's father is gone. The planet of Thundera is gone. Jaga is gone. Yes, he has the nobles, he has his friends in Panthro and Tigra, Chitara, Wily Kitten Cat, and all that, but actually having Lion-O go to He-Man's dad, like, that was really cool. So, you know, the end of this issue is that,
Your favorite catchphrase.
which is?
Grayskull's Bane!
Yeah. Which is basically, ancient spirits of evil, let nothing stand in your way. Bring us the power of Grayskull. So commands Mumm-Ra and Skeletor. And the ancient spirits actually come to life.
For once.
For once. So who will stand with me and slay the dragon now? I assume the sorceress has been narrating this whole time, because that's her symbol in the final narration piece, and that's her
Right.
there. I don't know. I think we're going to take a quick break, folks. We'll get some other final thoughts on this issue and start the 4th issue after this.
Decian, the superhero webcomic. Decian's got superhero antics and sexy girls. For action, drama, mayhem, and more, read it now at Decian.com. DASIEN.com. And for the new Decian podcast, go to patreon.com/Decian.
The Powers of Grayskull series will cover every episode of all 4 Masters of the Universe cartoons. Join Optimus Solo and myself, TFG1Mike, as we tell tales of Eternia, discover the myths of Etheria, become masters in space, and finally masters of Grayskull. We'll have a commentary on the Secret of the Sword film, and a few other special episodes. You can find this 125-episode-long podcast in iTunes and on the web at geekcastradio.com. By the power and honor of Grayskull, we all have the power.
Hurry, Skeletor, hurry! I am hurrying, I'm hurrying!
Alright, folks, we are back, and we've just finished up the 3rd issue of this mini-series, Thundercats, He-Man Thundercats. After this 3rd issue, sir, what are you thinking?
I am very excited to see the ancient spirits of evil ready to wreak havoc upon Eternos.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be amazingly fun. And I believe you'll have to remind me, because it's been a long time since I've seen all of Thundercats. Did they ever come to life in the cartoon series?
No.
I didn't think so. But that's very cool. This, by far, is my favorite cover, I think. He-Man versus Lion-O.
Well, Lion-O's eyes are very, very wide in this.
Yeah. It's like, He-Man, my eyes are very wide because I'm really only 12 years old inside and I can't stop looking at your loincloth. Oops.
All the better to see you with.
My cat. My puss. Grab that puss. Oh, God.
The less we hear about your puss, the better.
Making Thundercats great again. Thundercats roar, making Thundercats great again. And this is the point in the recording, folks, where Adas Baron basically hangs up on me.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Goodbye, Skeletor. So we start the 4th issue with more fighting, obviously, because we're in the middle of the battle. And we've got all these people fleeing and running, and man-at-arms and everybody trying to help save them. Mumm-ra and Skeletor do eventually team up and all of that. The spirit of Mumm-ra and the ancient spirits of evil are fighting everybody.
I mean, it's basically an all drag-out Godzilla battle.
Yeah, pretty much. We go to Thundercat camp or Eternos camp or whatever. Basically, Lion-O, Man-at-Arms, Panthro, and Tiger are here. Man-at-Arms says, "We're going to need every able body to repel these monsters, whatever they are. You ever handled one of these beauties?" Nothing so primitive," says Panthro. "You might want to consider scaling your oscillator to boost your force pattern output." Oh, boy. They gotta insert drama somewhere, folks, right?
Of course.
Like...
And then enter Teela.
Mm-hmm. And Chitara.
Mm-hmm. Catfight.
Get out of my head. I was just about to say that. Oh, Lord. And Lion-O basically tells Randor, "We Thundercats pledge to stand by Eternia," and all of that. And Slithe, who's being taken away, basically says, "You cannot defeat him once and for all. He always comes back. Restored, resurrected, ever living. Shut it and move it, you." One of the guards tells him. So this gives Lion-O an idea. So Lion-O takes He-Man's or Prince Adam's corpse with the sword to Third Earth. Did you think this would... Is this where you expected this to go?
No.
Me either. But I love that they did this. Because basically now you have He-Man, Thundercats, and Batman. The reason why I say this is because Mumm-Ra's sarcophagus is essentially just like the Lazarus Pit with Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, it is.
So...
I mean, it would make sense because the pyramid's completely unguarded at this point.
Yeah, kind of. And I love that Cringer said, "This is all my fault. Your fault? He'd still be alive if I could have battled, if I was there, but I wasn't really there. Cringer, you couldn't have." "Do you really think this'll work, King Lion-O? It's a long shot, I know. But if Mumm-Ra can use the twisted energies of this place to restore himself time and time again, perhaps we can use those very same energies to restore your He-Man." So they stuff the dead body in the sarcophagus, and nothing happens, and nothing happens, and then boom! Energy. And we get to the point where I said that I wasn't sure how you were going to feel about this. "There's definitely someone else here, Cringer. I'll stand guard over Adam. You go investigate." That's a wonderful plan, but Cringer, we both know that you at heart are a true hero. You're also a cat, like me and my people. What? "This is the Eye of Thundera, the source of my people's power. Let us see if Thundera's eye can unleash the hero inside you. Thunder, thunder, Thundercats, ho!" Just on this last page, with him pointing the sword at him, and it's not the power sword, it's the Sword of Omens. What are you thinking?
Well, they had the power sword on the coffin, and I felt like Lion-O is worthy enough to wield the power sword, and he could have easily transformed Cringer with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the mutants and the evil warriors are looting and plundering Mumm-Ra's pyramid. And then a giant thunder battle cat shows up. I can tell you have thoughts.
Just no.
It kind of looks cool. Okay, sure, it's not classic Battle Cat. It's mutant kind of Battle Cat looking thing with gold and yellow and red and green and all that, but
like maybe give him some Thundercat motif armor.
Yeah.
Just don't turn him into a cat person.
Yeah. I mean, I understand why they did it, but I don't know. So the sarcophagus gets blown open. He-Man escapes with the power sword. And he basically goes and tries to destroy Lion-O, and he's in a maddening rage. And
Jason Todd.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Except mumm-ra didn't break Adam's back, or hit him with a crowbar. That would have been funny, but no, mumm-ra's not that. Old school, I guess you could say. So, the one thing, I think one of the coolest panels here, even though it's a little strange, is the panel where Lion-O and He-Man are facing off against each other. He-Man looks like a giant dolt, because Lion-O basically takes the Sword of Omens and hits him upside the head with it. I'm sorry for that, He-Man. But there looks like there's blood coming off the Eye of Thundera. I get it. They're in a bloody battle. I get it. Their blood is spilling everywhere, but it just doesn't make the sword look powerful at all.
I took it more as like dark energy. Because in the page prior to it, he's jumping at him and the sword is covered in it.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe. I don't know. So they have that, and then Lion-O gets an idea. Basically, take his sword away, give him the Sword of Omens, and sight beyond sight. Very, very cool. And of course, before that happens, Lion-O's like, if I'm ever to face this, if I'm ever to not necessarily defeat you, but, match you, Sword of Omens, give me power beyond power. I call bullshit on this.
The swapping of the lines?
No, not the lines, but the fact that he can say something like this, and it actually works, like... Sight beyond sight, sure, fine. Yes, the Sword of Omens is all powerful and everything else, but I'm not saying it has to be faithful to the cartoon because this is its own individual story. But this just is a little strange to me.
Like, is he calling upon Thunderian power or is he calling upon Eternian power?
That's why it's strange to me because we don't know. So we have this giant fight with the two of them. And eventually, like I said, Lion-O puts the eyelets up to Adam, He-Man's face, give me sight beyond sight. And basically, He-Man sees a future that he does not want to be a part of. Basically, Skeletor and mumm-ra partying at Castle Grayskull. With everybody else kind of in, oh, hey, look, it's a Horde Trooper robot. I did not notice that at first. It's dead center of the page, right to the middle of where Man-at-Arms is hanging off to the left. Right next to, like, Chitara's back. Wow, I did not... That's cool. Obviously, the sorceress is, slumped over.
Yeah, there's a morbid shot next to her of Snarf's head on a pike.
Wait, where? Chitara or sorceress?
Sorceress.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Snarf and Roboto?
Yeah, and then Manny faces above them.
Oh, wow. Damn. Okay.
That's taking it a little too far.
Thundercats and Masters of the Universe on the bave. So He-Man's like, no. I I'd hope that would break you through the madness. I must cut you down. He-Man, He-Man, the Sword of Omens will not let me strike you. Wow. The madness, it has passed. You've come back. So they're friends again. Yay. Not that they were friends in the first part, but, you know. And hey, look, Cringer's back to his normal self.
Thank God.
So this one ends with Castle Grayskull and the Black Pyramid, and with my brave, resourceful new ally at my side, I know we have the power. I am digging this whole story. Like, every which way I think they're gonna turn, they don't, and they go in a different direction that I absolutely love.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there are moments here and there which, you know, I clearly have expressed not being a fan of, but the whole thing I'm digging.
Yeah. I don't necessarily know if I can go back and read this every once in a while, like every maybe 1 or 2 years in between or whatever, but this is a story that if I want like a really excellent okay, most He-Man stories aren't excellent, but most whatever. You know, this is a story I could go back to and read over and over and over again if I really wanted to. If I really needed that He-Man Thundercats kind of fix, this is where I'm going. So issue 5, The Fall of Grayskull, has Tigra on the black and white, has Mumm-ra and Skeletor on the main cover, with Grayskull in the center. We start off with, the enemy is upon us. They have destroyed our homes, our glorious city, and still they come. They desecrate our land and decimate our brave, and still they come. Because Eternia houses power beyond compare, but to them, we say, the power will never be yours. Castle Grayskull will not fall. I love this shot. This is another one of those super... You got the Wind Raiders in here. You got Wily Kit and Kat on their thunder surfboards. You've got the Ancient Spirits of Evil. You've got Orko doing his thing. King Randor and this giant Star Wars looking animal.
Tops.
Yeah. It's just everybody. You got the Thunder Tank with the cannon, the Eternian Blaster Core, all of that. So, what are you thinking? What are you liking? What are you disliking here?
It seems like the Ancient Spirits have gotten even bigger.
They have.
So how in the hell are they going to fend them off?
I don't know. I have no idea. Something about getting a clean shot, firing at will. I do love this little shot of all the sky sleds. Because I've always been a fan of the Sky Sled more. Like, the Wind Raider is cool, but I've always been a fan of the Sky Sled more than the Wind Raider. You got Chitara and Tila working together, kind of, sort of. Not really, but it works. And of course, as soon as Tila says, I hate stray cats, all I can think of is Stray Cat Strut. That's all I can think of. So the two girls save each other and all that. Mumm-ra and Skeletor are basically doing their thing. Orko shrinks Wily Kit and Kat's heads. That's not really helping Orko. Come on. What I love is after that panel we get a classic shot of Grayskull. It looks so good. Freddie did such a good job. Jeremy did such a good job on the colors. Where Sorcerer says, Power of Grayskull, I call upon you now. I love that shot.
Yeah, not too green that it looks overly cartoony, but just enough gray that it looks decrepit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Sorceress basically says, rise up and shield your fortress of mystery and power from those that would trespass upon this sacred ground. Hopefully you won't consider me less a trespasser. And your favorite guy shows up and more of an ally. By the elders, who are you and how? I am called Jaga, Lady Sorceress. Okay, so he's now appeared to everybody at this point.
It's like Spider-Man taking off his mask. Everybody sees it.
Yeah, but it makes sense, though. I understand what you're saying. The other Thundercats never really saw Jaga, but him showing himself to the Sorceress...
Oh, yeah, it makes sense.
For the story, it absolutely makes sense, and I have no issue with it, because how often do you see the Sorceress and Jaga... Never. This is like probably the first time ever.
Plus, I would imagine she would have the powers to see him anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Orko, you magical menace.
They just need to send him to a dungeon whenever there's a battle going on. Just lock him up.
Pretty much, yeah. So they're going to fire the cannon again, and it's a hit, and it doesn't really work, though. So there's that. There's more battle. Hey, look, Ram Man's going through the sky there. Skeletor and mumm-ra. Skeletor, I have no idea. A castle can't just up and disappear. Okay, this is it. Is he alright? Tiger has the ability to cast illusions, but he's never done anything on this scale before, so he's made Castle Grayskull vanish? It's still here. Just looks like it isn't. He's never had the power to cast illusions.
He has mind powers.
Okay.
They brought that out more so in the Anointment Trial episodes.
Okay.
And with his whip, he's able to turn himself invisible.
Yes, I knew that. I knew the whip thing, the invisibility thing with the whip. I did not remember the anointment. Like, again, I have to go back and rewatch the series because it's been at least 4 or 5 years since I did a watching of Thundercats, the original series. So, yeah. I don't know. It's a little weird, but it works, I guess. So they have to go back in time, and they found this thing before Thundera was destroyed, which basically is going to destroy the ancient spirits. I don't know. It's all very...
The Mormon discs of knowledge.
Yeah. The discs of knowledge. I love how at least Buzz-Off and Stratos, for Andrinos, for Avion, like they're all fighting for their own parts of Eternia, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they both kind of, get destroyed. Kind of, sort of. The fact that Buzz-Off looks almost the same size as Wily Kit is a little strange.
Yeah, I think it's just a weird perspective.
It might be, because obviously Stratos looks bigger than, Wily Cat. Lasers aren't cutting it. They have to do something else. And that's when Chitara and Tila go into action. And even Orko tries to get on the action, which he shouldn't.
Never.
No. And what is Snarf doing there?
He's growing to enormous sizes.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't the first time this has happened.
No, it isn't. Which, it's a nice homage. It is a very nice homage. I love the panel later where Skeletor and mumm-ra, ancient spirits of evil, in your final dying thrashes, Release the terrible power that resides in your ashes. Okay, I could do without the rhyming, but... Let the wickedness flow, black as hell from you four. Give all your dark might to mumm-ra.
Oh, Jesus.
No.
No.
That's the one thing about this that at this point that I don't like. Mumm-ra, really. I love the design of the character. I love it that it's, Mumm-ra, Skeletor combined. But no. Just no. And that's how issue 5 ends. As I said throughout this whole recording, I love the art. The writing at points is very well done. At other points, it just, like this point here, mumm-ra. Like, that's the name. That
they didn't need to name it at all.
Yeah, no. No, they shouldn't have. But they did. Thoughts on the penultimate issue here?
I mean, his design isn't bad. I could see it as a toy.
Yeah.
I don't see the need to grow Snarf many times over again.
No.
Because he's not really doing anything.
No. Snarf and Orko are not really doing anything at all other than getting in the way at this point. So, issue 6, Across the Universe, main cover, He-Man and Lion-O facing each other with their swords. Skeletor with mumm-ra, or mumm-ra inside Skeletor, or however you want to say it without saying mummator, because I'm not going to say that again after just saying that now, is in the background here. Love that cover. Chitara is on the black and white for Across the Universe. And, how does it feel, do you suppose, to race to the rescue? And yay, we finally have Battle Cat in his true form.
About time.
About time. We have a nice thing where, He-Man is coming to Randor's aid. He's alive, barely. We need to head inside. Watch over them, Cat. I will not fail you, He-Man. So they go inside Grayskull. They go through all these caverns and tunnels and whatever. And they get to the Orb of Power, which is what Skeletor and mumm-ra have been searching for this whole time. The Orb of Power is basically like the Time Stone, I guess, or the Reality Stone, or whatever. I would assume. Because I don't remember if, I'm pretty sure, the power of Grayskull is never really revealed ever. It is, I think in the 2002 series, the Cartoon Network series, they kind of did have a specific piece of power source there, but most of the time it's never ever revealed, and New Adventures does not count because it just doesn't. Any thoughts on this whole thing to this point where Lion-O's trying to get the Orb of Power out of Skeletor mumm-ra's hands?
The backgrounds are very Doctor Strange-ish.
Yeah, they are.
A very dark dimension.
Yeah. I mean, I would kind of expect that because they're inside Grayskull, and Grayskull is this, infinite place of, power and mystery kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know.
I mean, they even say it in the dialogue, the nexus of all realities, gateway to other realms and other dimensions.
Yep. And this is, so He-Man starts talking to the sorceress, the real sorceress. She says, "You must stop them, stop them, stop them. We will, I swear." As he and Lion-O are running out, "You were talking to her, weren't you? Note to self, talking to an invisible person makes you look crazy." You think so, Lion-O?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. But that was the callback I was saying earlier about the whole Jaga thing. So this reality will never come to pass. You underestimate the scope of our vision, our will, and our power. He throws the cannon at them. He-Man's got the orb. They're trying to get away. And they end up on Earth. In the... Did they really get the whole name in there? Does that really say Daily Planet? It's kind of faded at the beginning, but it looks like AILY, and then obviously planet is one whole word. And it's Adam as I don't know.
A Clark Kent-ish.
Wannabe, yeah, like great photos, Jim. And I'm like, the hell? Hey, Eterniaville. Oh my god, no, they didn't. This is the one scene that I'm just like I get it. He-Man, Superman, all that, everything else. Don't get me wrong. I think that's cool. But the fact that, this looks like a job for... He rips it off, and that's... Oh, my God. I'm dying over here.
Well, I like the reaction. Lion-O is it just me, or is this kind of, yeah, let's get out of here?
Yeah, exactly. Concentrate on Eternia. Oh, they go to Eternia, all right. They go to Eternia with Panthrocat, or whatever, Panthro at arms.
Yeah.
So they
Cat
should.
at arms.
Yeah. And hey, look, a Snarfo.
Ugh. The most obnoxious being in the universe.
Or I'll spell them into next week. Snarfo. Oh my god, it actually is Snarfo.
Yeah.
I remember reading that when I read this, but I just said that because that's the only thing I could think of that, to mix the two characters. Because you're not going to call him Orc Snarf or whatever. It's just Snarfo. I'm like, oh my god. They really did call him that. Wow. And I love He-Man and Lion-O. Maybe holding the orb together wasn't such a good idea, ? Not good at all. There is nowhere you can run that mumm-ra cannot follow. The orb of power will be ours. Protect Castle Grayskull.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my god, no.
It's the Amalgam universe all over again.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's crazy. So more fighting between these two. And He-Man and Lion-O eventually get the, no, they have the sword. I have the orb. They'll bring the sword back to us. We just need to be... Lion-O, what is it? Ghosts. And we see the original boarding of the Thunder. Like, this I love. The only thing I don't love about this is King Claudius does not need blonde hair.
I think he did in the original series.
Did he? Okay.
In the 2011, he was a redhead.
He was a redhead, yeah. I remember that because Larry Kinney voiced him. So, Jaga and Claudius have a moment, and, that was my father, He-Man. We travel through dimensions, Lion-O, space and time, dimensions of possibility, probability, and apparently of the past. There you are. Are we? Is this Thundera? Gods, how we've always despised this rock. So they eventually get to the point where they realize they too have to become one. God, cue the Spice Girls. Oh my god. So Skeletor and mumm-ra have the orb. Let's see. The sorceress, indeed, why would you stand and fight your own battles, you cowardly, conniving cretin? But He-Man and Lion-O will not fight alone. Yet you do what needs to be done. We'll handle these animals. And again, another great crowd shot battle scene. There's so much in this. And this is why I love Freddy's art, is these giant scenes. You'd think putting all these characters together would be a nightmare. And it probably was, getting this drawn and colored and inked and all that. But look at this final product.
Yeah, I'm noticing all of the callbacks to certain Thundercat characters, like B and C list characters.
Yep.
I can see Hammerhand in the background. I'm always appreciative of seeing Hammerhand.
Absolutely.
The Warrior Maidens and...
What about Rover Bill or Robo, whatever, Robert Burbles?
Oh, I see them.
Oh, do you? Where?
They're behind Orko.
Well, of course they're behind Orko. Why wouldn't they be? Oh my god, oh wow, yeah, that's hilarious. So yeah, basically everybody else is gonna take care of all of the army. Is that Stridor? Oh my god.
Yeah, they showed, like, any shot with Fisto, they've shown him with him.
Okay. Wow. And yeah, like I said earlier, Lion-O and He-Man realize that they have to basically join forces because, you know, He-Man's power is draining pretty much. So they have the swords, and I love this. The whole panel, the two swords in the upper left-hand corner. We have the power beyond power. What are you doing? No, 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 but I was so close. So we didn't blow ourselves up.
That's a lot of blood gushing from Lion-O there.
Which in the...
We have the
oh,
power
yeah.
beyond him.
Yeah, it's coming out of his leg, I think.
Oof.
Or his side or something. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, because it's coming out of Skeletor, mumm-ra, whatever, yeah. That's the thing, like, there's a lot of blood in this series. Like, I would not be having kids read this. This is specifically a series for us that grew up with these two franchises.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody, you know, saves the day. For you, snarf snackies, Cringer cookies. I'm like, wow, that's just hilarious. And we have this narration and that's going through it. We have Lion-O and the Thundercats getting ready to go. And the narration is Mumm-ra lives. Of course, Thundercats ho by the power of Grayskull. The end? Question mark, question mark, question mark?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know when, if they're ever, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, folks, they're going to be starting to do Injustice versus Motu. I don't know when, if they're ever going to revisit this. I want them to.
And Man-at-Arms is holding Panthro's
not.
nunchucks. What's up with that?
They gave each other something, remember? In the earlier scene when I said something about the cookies, they each gave one another something to remember them by.
Yeah.
I'm sure Panthro has plenty of those lying around somewhere. I'm sure of it. I love the fact that the Thundercats symbol, the insignia, is in the sky. The feliner blasting off again. This series was like, there were moments when I was reading this. I haven't done this while going through and dissecting this as we're talking about it and things. But there were several moments in this that I can point out to that I would have to go back to and find the specific moments where I actually cried in this series. I'm not kidding. This is '80s child's dream come true. Everybody always talks about, how they grew up on Batman comics, and that's great, absolutely great. I only read comics here or there as a kid. I was not reading comics all of the time as a kid. I was watching cartoons. I was going out playing with my friends, pretending. I'm not going to use the term live action role play because we didn't use that. There was no LARPing in the 80s. At least not in my neighborhood. We called it pretend or make-believe or whatever. Pretending that we're He-Man or Lion-O or Optimus Prime or Duke from G.I. Joe or Flint or whatever. Like, this series basically brought me back to 1985. And, like I said earlier, maybe not, every other day, every other month, but maybe every 1 or 2 years, I can go back to this series, read it with fresh eyes, and just absolutely enjoy it. Like, I wasn't skeptical of this, but I was excited for it, and I was wondering what they were going to do with it. The fact that I read this comic in 45 minutes, 6 issues in 45 minutes, if you look at it single issue wise, that's good for me because it means I enjoyed it a lot and I didn't need to take a break from it at all. Well, what are your thoughts overall on this thing?
I mean, with a lot of these crossovers, I feel like they're kind of unnecessary. Mm-hmm. But this is one that people have been clamoring for years, and it worked.
It so worked. It so did.
I mean, there are other ones that just seem totally unnecessary. What was it, like Power Rangers and Justice League?
Thank God Kyle Higgins is doing so well with Power Rangers right now.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Oh, yeah, it's so good. Like, it took me 4 days to read the entire series to prepare for Shattered Grid. But no, He-Man Thundercats, folks, go get it. Go pick it up. I don't know if the local comic shops still carry a couple of copies of it or not. My local shop, I looked for it. They didn't have it. I'm sure they could order it for you. You can get it digitally on Comixology or wherever you buy digital comics. Rob David and Larry Goldfine did an amazing job on the writing. Freddie E. Williams II, amazing art. I love his art. I know we said, and you said more specifically than I did, about there being a little bit too much blood and gore a little bit in certain panels and certain scenes. But most of comics, you kill a character, they're not going to come back. Or you kill a character, they're going to come back. In this, I was not expecting Lion-O to take Adam to the Black Pyramid. Adam's dead. He-Man's gone. Bye-bye. But the fact that they were able to do the whole time travel, time and space thing, and whatever, police box, whatever the hell you want to call it, and basically go from, Eternia to Third Earth and all of that. Again, Third Earth was Marlena's home. Earth was Marlena's home, so it makes sense that we would see, Adam / He-Man on Earth as well. Outside of a couple of things that I can kind of overlook, I think I have to give this a 4.5 out of 5.
I think I would agree with you.
Yeah. It's just too good. It's just like, yeah, does the thing have issues? It has slight little issues. It's nothing that isn't, like, there is a little bit of cheesiness in the dialogue, but hello, you're combining two properties that started in 83 and 85. Most of the cartoons in the 80s were cheesy. So, I don't know. Alright, folks. Coming up next here inside the pull bag. What's coming up? I'm not sure. I'll have to look. What have you got going on, sir? What have you been up to lately?
Well, I've been reading a lot of the Gem and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure comics, I can tell you that.
Okay.
But along with my friend, we do a podcast on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going to go over there to record after this because we've been behind by a couple weeks. But you can find it on my Facebook page under A. Baron.
Cool. Awesome. As we're recording this, folks, we're recording this June 1st, 2018. This is the 9th anniversary of the GCRN, Geekcast Radio Network, being online, so happy anniversary to us. Thank you to everybody who listens to the Pull Bag. I know there are times where it seems like a slosh to listen to the show, but I have to go through the comic panel by panel, story beat by story beat, because that's just how I roll with the show. I try my best to bring up the art as best I can, and going story beat by story beat gives me more ways to think of how to actually discuss the book, even though we're also basically summarizing it as we go along as well. So there's that, and the fact that the GCRN is 9 years old as of this recording, and we'll be 10 in 2019. Half of that time, the Pull Bag has been around for 5 of the 10 years. Like, I can't believe a comic podcast of all things has been my biggest thing on the network as far as, like, the thing that I've done the most. Like, this is the first show to reach over 300 episodes. So, yeah. Thank you to everybody who listens. We do very, very much appreciate it. If you leave iTunes reviews, any of the other stuff, that's great. Coming up next time in the Pull Bag, Doug Abel from Talking About My Generation is going to join me as we talk about the IDW one-shot, The Funko Universe, which includes stories of Funko Ghostbusters, TMNT, X-Files, Strawberry Shortcake, and Judge Dredd. Where can people find you online, sir?
Mainly on Facebook. I mean, the only time I've been on Facebook recently has been to update the podcast under A. Baron. And then you can find me on Instagram under A.Baron.
Cool. I am at TFG1Mike on Twitter. You can follow at The Pullbag on Twitter. It's, as I said, at The Pullbag. Also follow at Geekcast Radio on Twitter, Geekcast Radio Network on Facebook, The Pullbag on Facebook, and as always, go to geekcastradio.com to unleash the comic geek in you. Make your great escape into comics, and we will catch you next time here inside The Pullbag.
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, the GCRN's first comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate and leave a review for the show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Become a fan of us on Facebook, facebook.com/thepullbag. Send us an email, feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at thepullbag and at geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.
Sometimes I feel that I am not appreciated.